You open your eyes for the very first time, and here we are. You've just been born an orphan on Kokoyashi Village. Congratulations. Several Marines dressed in combat armor check the battlefield around your unconscious infant body as they decide your fate. Yep, she's still breathing, says one of them. Maybe he's just a regular soldier with basic medical training. Who knows? You're a baby. It's hard for you to tell. Your birth parents, who are also lying motionless nearby, will never breathe again. You see, the Marines have a strong policy about war orphans, which means that only the useful children get to survive government raids. The rest are, well, don't worry about the rest. This means you get to be raised by Bellamere. But war babies don't really get normal childhoods anyway. Instead, she placed you in a home where every day reminds you that family is something you fight to protect. Your cries echo through a house built on borrowed time as Bellamere works herself to exhaustion. But someone always comes when you need them. On Kokoyashi Village. Love is earned through sacrifice, even as a baby. Now you've made it to 8 years old. You're already showing signs of the intelligence within you. The average village kid can live without understanding real danger. But as Belmare's daughter, you're learning fast that safety is temporary. Your games with Nojiko are really just practice for the day everything falls apart. You're getting pretty good at reading the fear in adults' eyes. You've also started showing signs of natural cunning, which means your survival training begins whether you want it to or not. Your adoptive mother watches your progress like someone preparing for war, carefully teaching you skills that normal children never need. She doesn't shelter you from harsh realities because sheltered children don't survive what's coming. Instead, she shows you how to hide, how to lie convincingly, how to steal if necessary. A true Marine protects their family through preparation, always. Thanks, war. The lessons prove necessary when Arlong's crew arrives to collect their tribute. Bellamere counts the money in her hands. Exactly 100,000 berries, enough to declare either herself or both her daughters as residents, but not all three. The calculation is simple and horrifying. Save herself and watch her children die, or sacrifice herself and keep them alive. What you don't understand yet is that this moment will define every relationship you ever have, teaching you that love requires payment and family cost everything you own. At 8 years old, the accumulation of everything you feared arrives, watching your mother choose death over abandoning you. Without exaggeration, it's the most brutal education in love any child could receive. This isn't a peaceful passing or noble sacrifice. It's a violent execution designed to teach you that caring about someone makes you vulnerable, and anyone you love becomes a target. Arlong raises his hand and strikes Bellamere down in front of you. The sound of impact echoes through your skull as her body hits the wooden floor, blood spreading across the planks where you learn to walk. But before her blood has even finished pooling, the monster crouches to your eye level and offers you a deal that'll poison the next 8 years of your life. Work for me, draw my maps, and you can buy your village's freedom for 100 million berries. To an 8-year-old, 100 million might as well be infinity. But you nod anyway, because what choice does a child have when her mother's killer is offering the only path to protect everyone she loves? This isn't mercy. This is turning a traumatized little girl into an accomplice in her own oppression, while her mother's blood is still warm beneath her feet. From this moment forward, you'll smile at that monster who killed your mother, because survival means pretending you're grateful for his generosity. For the next 8 years, you become a perfect tool, and the psychological conditioning is masterful. Every morning you wake up in a bed provided by your mother's killer. You eat food purchased with money stolen from your neighbors. You use cartography equipment bought with the profits of oppression. And you say thank you for all of it, because Arlong has convinced you that this is kindness, not slavery. Picture this daily routine designed to break your spirit. You spend hours drawing detailed maps of islands Arlong plans to conquer, knowing your work will help terrorize innocent people just like he terrorized you. But you convince yourself it's worth it, because every map brings you closer to that 100 million berry goal. Every line you draw is another step toward freedom. You become the best teenage cartographer in the East Blue, not through passion, but through desperation. Your skills are forged in the fires of psychological manipulation, each technique learned while your captors praise your natural talent. When Arlong compliments your work, part of you feels proud despite knowing you should feel sick. He's trained you to seek approval from your abuser, and you hate yourself for wanting it. But here's what truly is twisted. You start to genuinely care about the Arlong pirates. Stockholm Syndrome kicks in hard when you're a child completely dependent on monsters who control whether your village lives or dies. You find yourself laughing at their jokes, while your real family suffers in silence. The worst part is maintaining relationships with Nojiko and the villagers while pretending everything is fine. Your sister covers herself in tattoos to cope with watching you work for their mother's killer. But you can't acknowledge her pain without breaking the fiction that keeps everyone alive. You're all suffering separately, unable to comfort each other. At 16, after 8 years of perfect service, you finally achieved the impossible. 100 million berries, saved coin by coin, map by map, smile by smile. 100 million berries exactly. You've done what no child should ever have to do. But it gets worse. Arlong had arranged for corrupt Marines to confiscate your money as evidence of pirate activity. So not only does he keep you enslaved, he gets to keep the money too. 8 years of your life stolen twice in the same afternoon, while you stand there powerless to stop it. That night you grab a knife and start stabbing the Arlong pirate's tattoo on your shoulder over and over again. You're trying to carve the symbol of your enslavement out of your own flesh because the psychological pain has become unbearable. Blood runs down your arm as you desperately try to cut away 8 years of trauma. This is the moment when a rubber boy in a straw hat grabs your wrist and says 3 words that'll change forever. Nami, you're my friend. Not you're useful, or we need a navigator. Just you're my friend. Spoken by someone willing to declare war on your captor just because you asked for help. Joining the Straw Hat crew means learning to function in a group where people actually care about each other, and it's terrifying. Your first instinct is to test them. You charge them money for everything: navigation services, weather predictions, even basic friendship. You're unconsciously recreating the transactional relationships you learned under Arlong. Because if love costs money, then you can control who stays and who leaves. But these people keep breaking your understanding of how relationships work. When Cammy is being auctioned at Sabaody, you're prepared to bid 200 million berries to save your friend, with the money that represents your hard-earned security and independence. St. Charlos immediately bids 500 million berries before you even get a chance to make your offer. You don't even get to make the sacrifice you're willing to make. But the fact that you're ready to give up everything for someone else's freedom shatters something inside you. You've been programmed to believe love is transactional and conditional. Yet here you are discovering you'd bankrupt yourself for pure kindness. Back on Innis Lobby, your captain declares war on the world government to save Robin. And you realize these people would die for you without expecting anything in return. If relationships aren't about debt and payment, then what are they about? You literally don't know how to process unconditional acceptance. The psychological adjustment is overwhelming. You've spent so long being useful to survive that you don't know how to be loved just for existing. Learning to trust means making yourself vulnerable, and vulnerability is terrifying when you've been betrayed most of your life. Every time your new family shows you kindness, part of you is waiting for the catch, the hidden price, the moment they reveal it was all manipulation. Your weather manipulation abilities develop into something formidable, but here's the cruel irony. You can control lightning bolts and tornadoes, but a single direct hit from most enemies would kill you instantly. Every fight is a calculated risk where you have to end things quickly or die. You're powerful enough to battle alongside people who can destroy mountains, but fragile enough that you live in constant awareness of your own mortality. The climate attack evolves throughout your journey, but so do your enemies. Each upgrade makes you more powerful, but also more dependent on technology that can break, be stolen, or malfunction at the worst possible moment. If your weapon fails, you go from Weather Witch to Defenseless Navigator in seconds. Just like Arlong could always take away your maps, your money, and your hope. But here's what makes your combat style truly desperate. When you face Big Mom, an Emperor of the Sea who could kill you by accident, you're operating on pure psychological warfare. You steal Zeus, her personal thundercloud made from her own soul, and turn him against her. It's the ultimate act of rebellion, taking your oppressor's power and using it for liberation, just like you learned under Arlong. Your relationship with money isn't greed. It's trauma response that everyone misunderstands. For 8 years, money was literally life and death. Every coin you earned was a coin closer to freedom. Proof that your mother's death wasn't meaningless. When you see money being wasted, you don't see carelessness. You see your mother's sacrifice being spat on. Your treasure room isn't avarice. It's a fortress built against powerlessness. Every coin you hoard is proof that you'll never be helpless again. But it's also a prison that keeps you from fully trusting that your new family's love isn't conditional on your usefulness. You charge your crewmates for services not because you need their money, but because you're unconsciously testing them. Will they abandon you when you become expensive? Your ultimate dream of mapping the entire world sounds beautiful until you realize what it actually means. Documenting every place where people suffer, every island where tyrants rule, every corner where children grow up like you did. For most people, travel brings joy. For you, travel means witnessing the scope of human cruelty on a global scale. Every map you draw is a record of trauma. Islands where people live under the delusion of happiness while their loved ones disappear. Countries torn apart by civil wars that lasted decades. Lands where children are sold into slavery while their rulers feast on stolen wealth. Your charts don't just show geographical features, they document the landscape of suffering across the entire world. Yet you continue because your maps serve another purpose. They're evidence that these places can be saved. When future navigators use your charts, they'll be following the path of a crew that liberated these islands. Your maps don't just show where suffering exists, they show where hope triumphed over tyranny. But the daily reality of your existence is exhausting. You're a young woman carrying the navigational fate of future legends, haunted by money trauma that everyone thinks is cute. Responsible for keeping your family alive in the most dangerous ocean in the world, all while slowly mapping every place where innocent people suffer. Your character represents this series' central theme about the price of freedom. You learn that love requires sacrifice, that safety demands vigilance, that belonging costs everything you're willing to pay. The girl forced to smile while serving her mother's killer grew up to be the woman who can guide her family through any storm. You've transformed your greatest weakness, being powerless, into your greatest strength, being indispensable. Every navigation decision honors your mother's sacrifice. Every map you draw proves that the enslaved cartographer becomes the liberator's guide. Every storm you predict shows that trauma can become wisdom when wielded by someone who refuses to let others suffer like she did. Your life demonstrates that surviving oppression doesn't end when the oppressor dies. It continues in every relationship you build, every decision you make, every moment you choose trust over fear. The money obsession, the navigation pressure, the weather manipulation, they're all tools you forged from the wreckage of your own childhood to ensure no one you love ever feels as hopeless as you once did. You are the navigator, not just because you can read weather patterns, but because you can navigate the cruelest storms humans can create and emerge with the strength to guide others toward hope. Your treasure isn't the money you hoard, it's the family you choose, the freedom you earned, and the proof that even the most broken children can lead to trust again. Not bad for a kid who started life as a war orphan, with a price on her head.